So here we go. Retirement used to mean a gold watch and a spot on the front porch to watch life go by. Now retirement means a new chapter in your life designed specifically for you, by you. Question is, can you financially make that happen? Welcome to another Dollars and Cents radio program. Since 1993, Doug Horne has been helping his clients plan for retirement. Doug is passionate about showing people how to never lose money again using risk-free strategies. As host of this weekly program, Dollars and Cents Radio, Doug enjoys helping people protect their retirement money. Not one of his clients has ever lost a penny due to market downturns. Let me say that again. Not one of Doug's clients has ever lost a penny due to market downturns. Doug enjoys helping his clients have peace of mind about their finances, keeping their retirement funds protected, and he desires to give you the same kind of peace of mind. Doug is a sought-after public speaker. He's a community educator considered by many to be an expert in retirement. And we have something for you right now before we get into the program today. It's a free Dollars and Cents retirement book. What is this? Well, it's a great book that gets the conversation started with you and Doug. 855-317-2346. 855-317-2346. The call is free, the book is free, and it just might be the best way to get your questions answered, or at least, as I said, start the conversation. We were talking just a moment ago. Hello, Doug, by the way.
Yeah, you're doing great, Ray. Keep going.
he's here. We're here. And, we were talking just a few moments ago about instructions. Do you ever get in the mail one of those big printed things that they spend a lot of money doing? The fine print, I should say, 72 pages or so of fine print that they expect you to read to understand completely about whatever it is, life insurance or, whatever.
Mutual fund prospectus.
Yeah, it's like, and you're going to sit there and read that? This is a generation, and you tell me if I'm wrong, I don't read directions. I take all of the parts out, I put them on the floor or the table, and I go, all right. Now, IKEA has done a very good job of us not reading instructions because they don't have instructions, they have pictures. We don't have pictures for your retirement. We don't have an IKEA instruction book. We don't have a 72-page manual that killed a lot of trees to help you figure out what you're doing for retirement. What we do have is Dollars and Cents Radio. Today we're going to talk about some myths and some facts about index annuities and a whole bunch more. But Doug, as always, it's great to converse with you.
Great to be here again, Ray. Great to be here.
2020, it's so far in the past now because we're quickly coming out of it.
Who remembers that year?
Pretty much, I don't forget. Pretty much beat us up pretty good. So how do you see things coming back? And I'm not going to use the term normal because I don't believe in normal. There's no normal.
Right.
Things are coming back, aren't they?
Things are. The markets have been doing great since the initial downturn of when the virus hit. Markets have been going great. As a matter of fact, some of us think they're going too great, and we're kind of worried about a pullback at some point. And then you get into the political scene where, the markets in general do not like talk about raising corporate tax rates and raising income taxes and printing more money. And initially they like stimulus because it finds its way to Wall Street. But, that's going to be building a house of cards or building the house of cards even bigger at some point. So, but as far as businesses, I enjoy the fact that most places now aren't requiring masks. I wasn't a good mask wearer. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, right.
So that's good. We're still hearing talk about people or small businesses having hard time finding employees, and I know there's several states like ours that are addressing that and saying no, we're not going to be paying you more than you made at your job, because why would you want to go back to your job? And to me, that seems like it should be an easy fix for the rest of the country, but we'll wait and see how that plays out. But I think things are getting back to closer to what we used to call normal, even though I agree there's what is normal, but
I don't know. Never figured it out, never will, and I don't believe there is, as I said. You talked about the markets maintaining the record growth phase, and there is no way to calculate that, is there? It's like, tomorrow could make a whole new story here, couldn't
Oh,
it?
sure. Oh, sure. Our portfolio is on the market side, and we're not here to talk about those. But we had such tremendously huge numbers, the 1 year returns at the end of March, and they've been coming down since then. They're still sky high, but they've been coming down a little bit. But,
Right.
you almost want to hesitate to put money in the markets after you've had a year where, I had a mid-cap stock fund do close to 78% on the 1 year return.
Whoa.
And blue
Wow.
chip stocks doing, in the 60s. And this was at the end of March, and those are phenomenal returns. But that's not when I want to put my money into the market because I don't think that ball's going to keep rolling that fast. And so we've already started to see a little bit of a pullback, even though the numbers are still tremendous. So people should have done well with their money in the markets for the past year, unless they got out, after the big drop with the virus. And stayed out, but the ones that either stayed in or got back in right away should have seen a really good return. But now we're starting to wonder, how long is that going to last before we have another pullback?
Dollars and Cents Radio, 855-317-2346. That's for a free Dollars and Cents retirement book. The conversation you're hearing is obviously good and great, but a free Dollars and Cents retirement book is even better. You can get yours now by calling 855-317-2346. We've been doing a lot of spending over this past year, and with the spending comes an increase in taxes and such like that.
It should, yeah.
How does that affect what we're looking ahead in retirement?
Well, as far as increasing personal tax rates, they always talk about that. So we'll wait and see when it happens, if there's enough, people across the aisle to block such things. A lot of publicity on the raising the corporate tax rate, which, most people would say, well, who cares? That's big businesses. They've got the money. They can do it. Yeah. But what they need to realize is big business just passes those on to the consumers in the form of price increases. And we've seen that. We're seeing inflation, higher than it's been. And that's a direct result of things such as that.
Yeah. It's really interesting. To me, in a pandemic situation, which is now in our rearview mirror, you would think that people would pull in, shut down, conserve, almost get into a bunker. But on the other hand, people have been crazy spending with buying new assets, new cars, new this, new that, new that. They're not traveling, although we are now, and that's a good thing. Right. I like the fact that we're getting back to more of those face-to-face things. But I was really surprised. I know some of the automotive dealers that we work with, they've had record years.
Sure.
It's like,
sure.
How did that happen? I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying it's a real good thing. But I question that. It's like, okay, we were in a pandemic. We kind of are still, with the Delta virus. I think the Delta virus coming. But still, I never understood that philosophy. I was thinking of something, Doug, and I'm thinking of retirement as a cocktail. Okay, not a Manhattan or a martini or whatever you want to think of that way. But in many ways, a cocktail is a mix of good decisions that is tasty, that is pleasing, that is something satisfying that you can enjoy and look forward to. So, I don't know. With that on your brain, a cocktail. It's too early for that,
It's
dude.
a little early for that.
Yeah,
right?
It's too early when we're recording this. Too early. But what do you think about that with logic of what you do? I just think it's you get good ideas together, you make good decisions, you put a plan together, and it tastes great and it feels good too. What do you think about that?
I guess that's a good analogy. But, keep in mind, even your favorite drink might not be your favorite drink forever. You might desire a new flavor down the road. And so the ability to have things set up for the long haul, but the flexibility to change them as needed or as wanted is important.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Very good. Okay. I'll drink to that.
In our business, I always tell my clients, we're setting this up like it's going to be for the long haul, but I want you to have the option 10 years from now, 5 years from now, just whenever, if different situations come up, different economic situations out there in the economy, or just life changes for you and you want to go in a different direction for whatever reason, we like to build it where that's going to be a possibility as well. And as that relates to using our lifetime income riders versus the pension payout from the big corporation, As we've talked about before, with the big pension payout, the numbers might look a little bit better than our lifetime income rider, but there is no principal after you choose that. With the lifetime income rider, you still own the principal, which means it's set up for paying you payments for lifetime. But 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road, we want something better comes along or something new and more exciting. You want to go that route. That's still your money to make that decision versus the pension, where once you made that decision to take the payments, there is no more lump sum.
And you're along for the ride with that, aren't you?
What's that?
You're along for the ride, the relationship here. You start this.
Absolutely.
That's important.
I promise my clients to bug them at least once a year if they don't call me at all. And that'd be for an annual review. Not everybody has to. I mean, they don't work for me. So I have plenty of clients that, once they understand these equity index annuities, and they're so simple once you get it, and there's just no worries, there's no risk. There's just nothing that can really go wrong. And so I have plenty of my clients that I'll call once a year because I haven't heard from them. Around their anniversary date time, and they'll just say, "No, we're good. We understand it. We're loving it. We'll give you a call if something comes up," and that's our annual review. So, others we get together and go over it, just whatever the client wants, of course.
It's kind of like a doctor. Dr. Doug, your annual checkup is coming up, so Dr. Doug wants to talk to you here.
and doctors would agree that not everybody goes in for that annual checkup, but they're welcome to, of course.
That's true, and I can guarantee you that this annual checkup is potentially a lot less painful, okay? Retirement confusing? The answer, yeah, for most it is. It really is. The free Dollars and Cents retirement book is a great first step in getting your questions answered. You have that number? You can call it now and get the book free. Ship it to you. 855-317-2346. 855-317-2346. I have one quick question for you, Doug. I have many questions for you. I have pages of questions.
We've got time.
Yes, I do. Yeah, we do. This half hour and the next half hour. I like that. In planning for retirement, when is a good time to shift to more of a safe approach to retirement?
Oh, good question. Good question. There's not. It's never too soon, in my opinion. We constantly hear, from the 40-ish crowd, which we don't see a lot of those anyway. But I'm so young, I've got plenty of time to recover from any bad market. But I like to remind people at any age, the S&P when it went down in 2000 for the dot-com bust took close to right around 7 years to get back to where it was. And so that's just if you were 40 when it started, you're now 47, and you finally have the same amount of money again because the markets took that long to build back up.
Really?
We had a little bit more growth, and then 2008 comes along, and it took about 5 years, 4.5, 5 years to get back for the S&P 500. And it, individuals, depends on what you were in. It could have been longer or sooner,
right.
But that's how long it took the S&P to come back. And so, just between those two events, I call it 12 years of a lot of up and a lot of down in the market, and as a result, a whole lot of sideways. And so. The 40-year-old that was saying I got plenty of time is now 52. And, of course, he'd been probably putting money in the whole time. But just the money that was there when he was 40 is now whole. He's whole again, at the age of 52. So that's the potential pitfalls of the markets. And, of course, everyone wants to be there when we're having a year like we just did. Wow, everything's just shooting to the moon. Well, who wouldn't want to be there? But the equity index annuity world and what we do, we take advantage of the good years, but we don't have to worry about the bad years, and that's the big draw for most people that get into these. It's like, wow, we can get market type returns, especially when the market's having a great year. We do double digits plenty of times. And that's just what people want, of course, because those are the good years in the market. But we don't have to worry about the bad years. We stay flat, don't make anything during the bad years, but we don't lose a penny.
Yeah, I love that philosophy. I just can't imagine that anybody would say, no, I don't want any of that. I'm gonna stay on the roller coaster. I just don't see that happening. 855-317-2346 for your free Dollars and Cents retirement book. The call is free. And the book is free. We're talking with Doug Horne here on Dollars and Cents Radio. I am so glad you're here today, Doug. I'm also glad that folks out there are listening too, and maybe
absolutely.
Sometimes for the first time to this radio program. We're seeing our world come back. Yeah, it's coming back in recovery from the pandemic. What kind of conversations are you having with the people that you talk to recently? What are you seeing differently than you did during the pandemic?
Oh, differently now is just a lot of inflation worries. I get a lot of questions about, hey, wow, where's it going to end? And a lot of tax questions like, do you think they're going to raise everything they're talking about? And how will that affect people? And of course, taxes are going to affect most of us in retirement, since most of us have the bulk of our money in IRAs, which has never been taxed before. So any talk about that is, of course, extremely important to clients. And so I'd say the biggest things now, well, there's actually another. People are worried that we've had such a great year that, when is the next big one coming? Especially with apparently, I don't mean to paint anything with a broad brush, but apparently an anti-oil and gas and an anti-business climate coming out of, a lot of political sectors. Let's just leave it at that.
Right.
And so people worry about that. What's that going to do to the market? I just had a great year, but I want to be there if it's still going to be great. I just don't want to be there if things are going to turn south.
Sure.
And that's what we address with the equity index annuity world, and that's what I'd love to talk to the people about when they call in.
Yeah, I love it. It's safe ground, so to speak, and neutral ground, which is a place that we need right now. 855-317-2346. You need to get the book. 855-317-2346. Call right now and we'll send it to you. The call is free and the book is free. DollarsandCentsRadio.Horne is the dude that knows all of these things. It's good that you know this. It's good. Maybe IKEA should hire you to define their construction policies. Okay?
I don't think that would be a good idea.
No, never mind. Doug, define a conservative investor. The reason I ask this is really the person that's dialed into what dollars and cents is really all about.
Sure.
What does that mean by being a conservative investor?
In the market world, we tend to want to do analysis. Is this an aggressive investor? Is this a middle of the road investor? Is this a very conservative? And there's different steps along the way. I've always maintained that a lot of us have aggressive tendencies when the markets and the economy's going gangbusters.
Well, that makes sense.
We become
Absolutely,
aggressive. But hey, things start to look cloudy. We get a little bit more conservative. So Are you really aggressive or are you really conservative, or where are you really on? And I think it's situational, honestly. But most of us, I think, have conservative tendencies. And what I mean by that, not in a political sense, but what I mean by that is we want to protect what we've got and we want to grow it as best we can at the same time. And so, what we do with, I call it my niche market, but the equity index annuity world, is we address that. We show them how, hey, we can get market returns in the good years and not have to worry about, going backwards in the bad years and then the time it takes to recover and so forth. So,
yeah. I want to talk a lot today, this half hour and the next half hour with you about some of the myths surrounding index annuities.
Sure.
Basically, there's some folks out there that say annuities are too expensive, too complicated, they're poor performers. But I'm sure maybe someone listening is the same thing. It's like, well, I don't get this kind of stuff. Basically, what they say is for years, folks wondered about the use of annuities in their investment retirement portfolios. In the 2019, this goes back a couple of years, total deferred annuity sales topped $221 billion, of which a record $73.2 billion were considered fixed index annuities.
Yep.
And here's what happens, and this is so true from a generational standpoint. You got a question, you go Google it.
Oh, dear.
And then, and how can you possibly think? I know people Google if they're not feeling well. What are they?
Oh, dear.
Why? Potential investors often Google, read articles written by firms that do not sell them, which tend to be filled with dramatic language and scare tactics that obscure the facts.
Sure,
and they buy into that kind of stuff.
Yep. And those very same firms are the ones that put your money at risk, but they don't put out papers showing you how bad that could hurt your pile of money when the market goes down 30%, for example. It's kind of, they're picking on one side, but they're not picking on their side, and they're the ones that have the risk. But we can jump in. You mentioned a few things up ahead.
Yes.
And oh gosh, What were the three things? You said performance and...
Oh, there were actually just a whole bunch of different things that we were going to talk about, and we'll carry that into the second half hour here.
Okay, good,
Let's hit one of these things. But again,
Sure.
I go back to the medication prescription thing. It really is important. Really, really, really is important to be used in the right situation by the right person, and for any downside similar to the potential side effects of a prescription drug to be understood before you do it.
Oh, sure. Just like with anything, you want to know the ins and outs to make sure this is something you want.
I cannot wait for us to get into the next half hour, because we're going to talk about 6 different things about annuities. These are myths about annuities.
Good,
We're going to answer your myth questions. We're going to touch on annuities are bad. Okay. We're also going to touch on other options can do what annuities can do just as well. Okay.
Sure.
And also, annuities are expensive. So those are more, just 3 of the ones that we're going to be talking about. But here on Dollars and Cents Radio, the idea is to have a great conversation, a simple conversation based on your questions. And every week, right here on this station, we take the time to get those questions answered, to drill down on the specifics and find the answers that work best for you. Okay, real quick. You got 60 seconds. Annuities are bad.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. You know, there's 4 different types of annuities. The kind that most of us in the business do not like are called variable annuities. And I always tell people, if you see the word variable before anything, maybe you should just run. Variable rate mortgages, people get burned on those. During our ice storm, we had variable electricity plans where some people got really burned. And so we don't like those. Those are very expensive. Of the other 3 types, which are part of the fixed annuity world, 0 fees unless you have optional bells and whistles that you want to put on there, which normally we don't recommend, but 0 fees. So annuities are bad. I don't know why. The word annuity means tax deferred. So if we're talking IRAs, IRAs are tax deferred no matter what vehicle they're in. So there's nothing wrong with being tax deferred, obviously. Yeah. And the different types of annuities do different things. A standard fixed annuity is like a tax deferred bank CD. Nobody's doing bank CDs right now. We're not doing a lot of fixed annuities because interest rates are so low. But there's nothing to not like about an interest rate if it's a decent interest rate. CDs could be 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, or whatever. You can buy fixed annuities of various time lengths. So there's nothing to not like about that world. And when we get into my specialty, the equity index annuity world, again, I don't think there's anything to not like about these because they're just simple to understand and they keep your money safe, and there's 0 fees coming out the bottom, 0 risk, 0 fees. And when we talk about the performance in the next half hour, I'm going to give you some numbers. And good grief, I send out charts showing, one of my company's 22 years of history now, where the vast majority of those years, our product was ahead of the S&P 500. And not because necessarily we're growing at a better rate, because you know how the market we can have a 25% year, and it's hard to touch that with anything. Right. But then you can give that back, and we often do a lot of times. Yeah. We stayed ahead of I call it the green line, red line chart, and I sent it out with my book. But we stayed ahead of the red line the vast majority of that 22 years or over 2 decades.
This is the exact same conversation that you can have with Doug. You want to get the book? 855-317-2346. 855-317-2346. We're doing some myth busting. God, I love those guys.
I remember that.
About your retirement years here on Dollars and Cents Radio. I hope you're going to stay with us. I know you will. 855-317-2346. Back in just a few with a lot more good advice for you here on Dollars and Cents Radio. Stay right here.